THORChain is a decentralized exchange that enables you to swap Bitcoin with thousands of other cryptocurrencies, okay? There is no KYC on THORChain. It's all permissionless. THORChain's token is called RUNE, that is spelled R-U-N-E. You don't need to buy or hold RUNE to place a swap on THORChain, okay? THORChain has another token. It's called TCY, Tango Charlie Yankee. This is like a preferred stock. You get 10% of the protocol's revenue. You can swap to this token as well. You don't need to bond it. To swap on THORChain, you go to thorchain.org, click on swap, and you'll see all the wallets and websites that you can use. And you can choose the interface that is best to you. This will be changing soon. THORChain is getting its own interface, and the link to this will be swap.thorchain.org. One more time, swap.thorchain.org. If you go to Patriot Sounds right now, we have the beta version, and that link will remain on the Patriot Sounds at Patriot Sounds. It shouldn't last too much longer, though. I think swap.thorchain.org is going to get started very soon. Okay, guys? If you hold RUNE or any asset on a centralized exchange, get it off immediately, guys. What are we doing? Self-custody is the only way. And if you are thinking about bonding your RUNE, use runebond.com. All you have to do is pick a node, request a whitelist, and then bond once approved. Guys, we have Rujira here. Rujira is building decentralized Binance. Did you guys see that Masari article on Rujira? I hope that's why you're here. And if you haven't, make sure you check it out. We're going to be breaking that all down today. Okay, guys, that is the topic. We have THORChain. We have THORChain's app layer, Rujira. We are so very excited to tell the world what we have built here. I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Kenton, guys. Let's get this party started.
Hi, guys. Yeah, update on the swap.thorchain.org. There's just been should have been done sooner, but we should be moving to that site live, and it should be done on Monday, basically. If it's not done by the end of next week, I'm going to be pretty frustrated with the guys. But it's just taking a bit of time. People in different time zones, communication, whatnot. But it's going to be done, and keep in mind too, it's like we're continuously adding new features, new wallets, new things. Right? It's not. The site is definitely not done. I don't think it'll be truly done until the new year. We got to just keep adding stuff, right? And as it gets done. And if you're using it, you find out any bugs, no matter how little or weird or whatever, please let us know, because when all the different eyes looking at it as we can. There's an email address on the site you can email the bugs to, and just some more alpha for you guys. I've been saving it for the space. So I've been chatting with Chad Bareford about bringing back the Thursday THORChain dev update spaces that we used to do, and he's game. He's down to do it. So and then hopefully get Familiar Cow or maybe Orion, whoever other THORChain devs, but just kind of keep it THORChain focused about developments, updates with THORChain. So Chad's coming on next Saturday. So I don't think it doesn't make sense to do it this Thursday, but the following Thursday, I think we'll start doing them afternoon Eastern time. We got to sort out the exact time with everybody. And then we'll keep doing these on Saturdays where we have more kind of open, talk to other ecosystems, other projects, what have you. We'll just keep Thursdays focused just on events around THORChain. And from there, I'll pass it on to Hans if he wants to introduce himself.
Hi, thank you. Nice to be here. I don't know how far to go back with an introduction. Sort of entered crypto space in 2016, 2017, popped around with ETH a bit, and then re-entered back in 2021 when we launched Harpoon Protocol on Terra, which was what Rujira was born from, which was about demonstrating the inequalities and the lack of access to liquidations that retail have in DeFi, and trying to fix that. And then we built Rujira off the back of that, offering liquidations for Anchor Protocol at the time, and then migrated to a sovereign layer 1, really focusing still on those liquidations, on that inequality. And now we're here building the same thing on THORChain on the app layer, with access to native BTC, native ETH, and all those good connections that THORChain offers.
So Hans, let's jump right into it. The hot topic right now is perp dexes, and Rujira is building a perp dex as well. Can you tell us a bit more about it and why Rujira's is important compared to everybody else?
That's a big question, right? So it's hard to answer this question without being slightly opinionated, I think.
Be opinionated, please.
Yes, please do.
And so, like my first entry into the whole crypto space, I remember it vividly. We were living in this converted attic, basically. We didn't have enough space. I'm quite tall, I'm 6'3". There's not enough space to stand up, and I was kept banging my head about. So we had this kind of like low-level little like seating area, and I was sat there and I was reading TechCrunch, and it must have been like late 2016, I think, and I was reading about this thing called Ethereum that had just launched, and the DAO, the first DAO, the one that ultimately got hacked. I was like, this is incredibly cool, and like the democratization and the access to this and the freedom and the open sourceness of the whole thing. It was a really incredible concept, and it bought me. And like ETH was $1 at the time, and I made some bad financial decisions, obviously. But that was the kind of thing that like kind of grabbed me and stuck with me. And I think that when you look at the state of crypto ever since, right? Like you in 2016, 2017, the ICO boom and EOS, like whatever it was, $6 billion or something, and for what, right? There's always been this kind of inequality, and the thing that I said, and actually when we started Rujira, and I think this was kind of key, like when I met one of the co-founders, I said, look, I'm not going to build something that just pushes numbers around on a screen for no real value. We have to build something that is valuable, that people want to use, that is like that stands up to the ethos and the ethics of what Bitcoin and cypherpunk and what these things were built on. And so when you talk about kind of like, let's get back to the point here, we talk about Rujira Perps, right? Perps is kind of like this kind of generalized term for leverage trading, right? And it's leverage peer-to-peer trading. Like it's the way that you read articles and you read about how Perps is described, or like crypto Perps are described, these contracts that settle at some point in the future. They never settle, right? You just sell it to somebody else, and maybe at that point it settles. But the whole thing is just kind of one big margin trading platform. You deposit something, you borrow some asset, whether it's an actual real in inverted commas asset that comes from somewhere else, or it's a synthetic asset that is pegged by a funding rate, and you swap with somebody else. And when you contrast this against what, so the real thing here is that these exchanges that pretend to or use the narrative, they use this kind of cypherpunk narrative of a decentralized exchange that offer these perps and futures and whatever. They are, and I'm not pointing any fingers, but typically they are just kind of centralized exchanges masquerading as decentralized exchanges, because the true ethos of being a decentralized exchange isn't necessarily that you have a large set of validators and it's unstoppable and it's permissionless. It's that it is for the people, right? Like you build something and you get liquidated on X, Y, or Z, not going to name names, and that, where does that go, right? It just, your margin just vanishes and you lose. What we are building here is a truly decentralized, open source, transparent exchange where you can participate in the whole ecosystem. It's not just some like thing where we'll pump the volume because 10% of the volume gets liquidated and that's profit in our pockets. That profit is still profit there, right? But it is not for a single individual. Just because you deposit from a MetaMask doesn't make it a decentralized exchange. It just makes it a smart contract that's taking deposit. You deposit to a smart contract on Kraken, on Binance, or whatever, right? Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling now, but I hope
you're good.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you don't want to point names. We shouldn't do that, right? But so if I'm understanding you right, are you suggesting that the game is rigged, basically? Like if you're trading perps on a centralized platform, there's stuff happening in the background, like a black box you can't see. It's not open source, and
Yeah, of course it is, right? Perps is it's a casino. Like perpetual trading is a casino, and the parameters of that casino are tweaked so that the house wins. It's the same as playing roulette. But you can have some intelligence over the way that you trade, right? You can understand human psychology, you can understand macro systems, you can understand all these things, and so you can give yourself an edge. But ultimately, the house has an edge, and the house always wins. But
what is their edge? The fact that they can see the order book, or they have they can do basically like they can do paper trading. Like they don't have to actually have the crypto to do any buying or selling. They can just do paper.
You parameterize the funding rate. You parameterize the whole exchange to your benefit, which is I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because without this, these perps exchanges don't make any money, and they don't exist. So and people do make good traders make good money out of it. So there is a good reason for them to exist. What I'm saying is that there are the status quo is that these exchanges keep all the predominantly 20% of a large exchange's profits are made from liquidations and margin calls. And they're just like, oh, thank you, I'll put that in my pocket. And then what I'm saying is that what we need to build here, and what we've got an opportunity to build, is something where those fees and those profits and all of that kind of opportunity goes to the owners of the exchange, and you are free to own that exchange. It's not a centralized exchange masquerading as a DEX, which is ultimately owned and controlled by a few people.
So why? I just want to play devil's advocate a little bit. If that's going on, why do so many people continue to use those platforms? Like if they know the game is rigged against them, I mean, they must still make money. They must still. I mean, there's professional traders out there who don't see this as a casino. They see it as a job, as a business. They must be making money. Otherwise, I think people would stop going. Yeah.
Yeah, same as like people have to win in a casino to want to keep going back. But this isn't a casino, really. It's like you say, you can be sophisticated and understand markets and understand emotions and understand psychology and understand all these things, and make accurate decisions in how you trade and how you position yourself, and over time you win, right? It's not. I'm not for a minute suggesting this is a roulette wheel, because it is much more sophisticated, and if you are clever and smart and know what you're doing, you have an edge. But when you look at things on a macro level, the house has the ultimate edge.
Okay, so are you saying that the sophisticated traders know about the house's edge, but they can still trade around it? They can take that into account, and they can still be profitable.
To a degree, right? They're not trading around it. They're playing the game. Like the rules are well defined, and you understand how this trading game works. And they're not competing against the house. They're competing against the counterparty, the other participants in this ecosystem. The house just understands what the macro looks like.
So if you know this, I'm assuming everybody, all these sophisticated traders know what you know, and would they? So if that's true, then I would think once Rujira Perps is live and fully baked and going, people should flock to it. They should want to use it because they know they're getting the truest, fairest platform to trade perps. That there's no house has the advantage. There is no house to screw people over.
I don't. This is no. So that the house has to have an advantage. Like the traders aren't competing against the house. The traders are competing against other traders. My point here is that we have an opportunity here to build something that is true to the cypherpunk ethos, that is decentralized, community owned, open source, and fair, right? And the fair and egalitarian piece is the key piece here, is that people are going to trade, and they're going to trade wherever they want to trade, and there is to a degree no reason necessarily to trade on one perp platform over another, right? Aside from hype and liquidity. But what there is reason to do is there is reason to come and have part of the action, and be you can literally be the house. You can own the exchange. Where else can you go? You unless you become a sophisticated investor and you pass KYC and you do all the things that you have to do in order to invest in privately owned companies, how else do you invest in an exchange where that investment is actually valued by the revenue and the profitability of the exchange? Like there are a handful right now that have a token, and that token is sort of largely hype driven, based on the kind of apparent usage of the platform or whatever. But they're still closed source, and they're still run by a consortium of validators or whatever. And this is kind of where I think we have this opportunity, is that we get to build this entire ecosystem, and it's not just Perps, right? It's spot trading. It's the borrowing and lending is critical, right? Because without borrowing, without leverage, you don't get liquidations. We get a launch pad, right? So suddenly you can participate in VC funding without having to do some like musty backrooms in. You can actually participate in a fundraise directly with however much you want to participate in the same way that we bid on liquidations. And we have an opportunity to build this where the users of it are the owners of it, and you don't have to be one or the other. You can be both. You can be neither. You can be one or the other, and you just we have to build this, right? We have to.
Okay, so maybe if I can just echo back what I'm hearing. So like a casino, like it's a free market. If you want to build a casino, you can. If you want to go play the games, you can. Everybody knows the odds. It's just the way it goes. It's free trade. And with a Perps platform, everybody knows the house wins. 10. Like you're saying, maybe 10% of their profits comes from liquidations. It's just the nature of the game. It's just how it goes. And with Rujira, and by extension THORChain, and you can become the house yourself. You can own a piece of the house. You can get in on that side of the action, and own it too. So you're democratizing. I don't like using that word, but you're the whole point of DeFi is to put everybody on the same equal playing field. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So for people to be able, they want to participate, they want to be part of the house. Like I say, like I'm not a Perps trader, I don't do futures, whatever, but I like the idea of being part of the house and earning from that. How do I do that? Is that buying Ruji? Is that buying Rune? Do I actually have to create some other opposite trading program?
There's an arbitrage, right? THORChain Rune earns a share of fees. Ruji earns a share of fees. Either or. There's a natural arbitrage between the two, depending on the balance of revenue.
But basically, owning the token is how you get a piece of action to the house. You could own the token.
Bond Rune, or own and stake Ruji, which
got it.
We will have an auto bond for Rune on Rujira.network very soon. So
okay.
And you'll see it, right? It'll be black and white. You'll be able to see the APR. When the APR for staking Rune is higher than the APR for staking Ruji, you'll get more Rune staked, and when it goes the other way, it'll balance out.
So let's just pretend the revenue split that occurs on these other exchanges is similar on Rujira and THORChain. In theory, 10 to 20% of the revenue on Rujira could be from these liquidations, and so 10 to 20% of the yield on staking Ruji would come from these liquidations. Is that right?
It's all very dependent on uptake, right? But I was thinking about this earlier. If you consider that the kind of status quo is that futures and Perps markets are roughly 10 times the volume of the spot market, then for an exchange to make 10 to 20% of its revenue from liquidations, which are a significant portion, like just house edge traders lose, right? Typically speaking, for it to only be 20% seems very low. And I've seen this on the inside, and I'm sure you have too. A lot of these exchanges, the big exchanges, when they list tokens, they ask for a good chunk of the supply. And so for me, I don't see a revenue source for these exchanges that equates to 80% on the spot market. It feels like that kind of side of life is maybe quite beneficial for them. But the point is that 10 to 20% then becomes once you put aside those allocations, those all that kind of stuff, 20% becomes more like the majority of the revenue from actual kind of volume and usage. And so I think that once we get the kind of like the margin trading and the credit accounts off the ground, and we start to offer leverage products, which is what this whole thing is predicated on, we're going to start seeing things moving.
Nice. Patriot, did you want to jump in? You have any questions?
Well, I think one thing is, like, if someone's listening to this, Hans, right? They're like, I want to really crystallize the difference, right? And I think you talked about it a lot, but if it's not clear to people listening to this, whether it's live or the recording, what THORChain, what Rujira is building, everything about it is going to be on chain, right? This has never existed before. Everything will be on chain. This is what we're going to, and this is the only way it should be, right? You don't want to have, and again, this is not accusations, but these things have happened in the past where you've got closed source things going on. You have people in the background maybe manipulating data to siphon value out of something. That should not even be an option. And the people who want to participate in our ecosystem, that's how you do it. Like Kenton and Codehans said, you purchase Rune, you can bond it, you can have Rujira, you can stake it. There's the auto bond feature coming from Rune. There's various ways to do this. But Hans, just like, if you don't mind, maybe just crystallize a little bit, like because I know you're really fired up and passionate about this. Like, what do you foresee? Like, what is the big vision? Like, what are you trying to accomplish now that what was once Rujira is now Rujira and THORChain have come together? Like, what gets your wheels turning?
No, you're exactly right. And this was kind of, so whilst we're building Rujira, it was insane, so intense, and I didn't have a minute to kind of look sideways. It was kind of forwards, and THORChain was the only other project that sort of entered this kind of sphere, and I saw it kind of tangentially, but I never had the opportunity, the moment to kind of really look at it. And then all this happened, and we came together, and I building the tech out and writing like the code for secured assets and stuff, and I kind of go through the code base, and you're like, this is what this entire industry, this is what crypto and cypherpunk is. It's what it's all about. It's why we are here, right? Because I can now access these assets on these other layer ones, and I've got this homogeneous data type that I can use in my code and bring it to my smart contracts. And so now I've suddenly got access to all these assets, and there is nowhere else that offers it. Like nowhere. Like Maya, obviously, and we love each other, and like there's some very exciting things going on there. But like, we can now build the thing that centralized exchanges have had exclusive ownership over, because they can get banking licenses, they can control assets in a centralized wallet, they can take custody of it and issue you a value in a database somewhere to say, this is how much you own, but oh shit, our database got hacked, or no, actually your 2FA didn't work, or whatever it is, right? Like, we now have the rails and the architecture, which is key actually. I think building a smart contract layer, a virtual machine on top of THORChain rather than integrating it into the core, was key as well. We now have the rails, and we can build this thing which clearly has product market fit, right? Like the centralized exchange market is fair, it's quite large, but it is owned by a few elite few, and we have an opportunity finally to build the thing that provides access and provides those functions, the trading, the leverage, the borrowing, the launch pad, all these things to anybody without KYC, without the potential of their funds getting locked or frozen, and where you can also own a share of what we're building. Like, and that is for me, that is so key. Right? This, like, crypto is about ownership, and it's about democratization. Like, if you can't have a piece of that pie, then what's the point in it? You may as well just use a centralized exchange and be like, yeah, whatever. The founders there get their shares going to be worth something. They'll go public one day, and they'll make a load of money out of it.
So right. I couldn't agree with you more. Oh, good, Patriot.
I'm sorry, Kenton, I'll let you go after this. I totally agree with that, Hans. And, that's why we're building this thing, right? We cannot have a permissioned element in DeFi. If we do that, then it will be subject to abuse. At any point, if humans can get their fingers on something, the chance can never be extracted away where some shenanigans will take into place. That's why open source code is important. That's why permissionlessness is important. That's why no KYC is important. To the listener listening to this recording, I cannot emphasize how important this is. Rujira, which is now Rujira, 2021 roughly is when they got started. They were called something daft back then. THORChain 2021. We built in isolation a little bit from each other. We knew of each other's existence, but we built quietly for years and years and years. And now we've come to the point where we've kind of discovered each other, and now we're the same community. And what we're building collectively changes everything. To the listener, I cannot emphasize this enough. You need to do the deep dive on this. Permissionlessness, no KYC, everything on chain. That is the future. I'm going to kick it to Kenton.
Totally echo everything you just said there, man. I just kind of wanted to ask Hans, like this is something I keep thinking about, especially with like trying to market and promote THORChain, is that like I agree with everything you said. Like I feel like we're in the trenches. We're in the front line of like, holding the cypherpunk ideals and keeping them going. And it's like, and I always see stuff on Twitter where people are like, where's the industry gone? Nobody's talking about changing the world anymore. And it's always, it's these treasury companies and, centralized exchanges and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and I hear that, I see that, and I'm like, well, why aren't more people recognizing what THORChain is doing, recognizing what Rujira is doing? And like, even when I talk to crypto savvy people and I tell them, I feel like I just see a blank stare in their face. Like they don't, it's like they forgot the ideals, or they're just closet fiat maximalists. Do you have any insight on that? Like why aren't more people recognizing what you're working on?
There's a few things, I think. So, I mean, there's two sides to it, right? You've got THORChain and you've got Rujira, right? And I think, if you ask the man on the street, do you know what WorldPay is? The chances are they're going to say no. But like WorldPay is like the settlement layer that powers every single credit card transaction anybody ever makes. And I think it's that there's sort of like my mental model here is that THORChain is more akin to a WorldPay than it is to a MasterCard or a Visa or whatever the US version of it is. You make your payment, like MasterCard and Visa are selling you their products, they're selling you their credit cards, but it is ultimately WorldPay that settles the transactions, and it's WorldPay that take the volume. Right? Everyone else is kind of competing for it, but WorldPay just sat there like, hoovering up trillions of dollars a year, and be like, yep, we'll just do this and we'll take our fee and that's fine. But we have to integrate. We need these integrators to make that work.
So THORChain and Rujira they're just so high level. Well,
no, I'd say Rujira is more of like it's actually not even a MasterCard kind of thing. It's like I'm not really sure. Like, but it's a public facing brand, right? Like you can buy Bitcoin, you can buy ETH, you can borrow against your Bitcoin on Rujira. But ultimately, like the reason why this is so powerful is that the settlement layers, the liquidity that THORChain has means that we have we've launched the what we call the virtualization strategy, which is basically just a way of saying we have now put THORChain liquidity in our order books, and now you've got something like 20 grand within 1.6% of a Bitcoin order book. So we now have these rails to allow us to build these borrowing and lending products where you can rotate your collateral from, for example, Bitcoin to ETH without having to withdraw it and redeposit it like you had to in the past. And all these things are only made possible because of THORChain's rails, THORChain's liquidity, and particularly like the deposits too and the withdrawals from Rujira are like sovereign because of THORChain. But it's a facilitator, and facilitators make an enormous amount of money, but they don't necessarily need to be kind of it's not like MasterCard powered by WorldPay. It's just I pay with my MasterCard.
Okay, so let's get into that. Earlier you mentioned about Forgive me, I might have misheard you, but you're talking about take advantage of the perps trading and participate that more. It's the lending, borrowing and lending helps make that possible. Can you explain that a bit further? Why is borrowing and lending so important to perps trading? And yeah.
So perps is basically borrowing. Right? You borrow a like a token, like where do I start with this? Stablecoins. Stablecoins always start with this, right? So when I mint like a DAI or we had USK on Rujira as a collateralized debt position, you are basically like printing a token, right? It's an asset which didn't exist before, but you're being allowed to have it because you've deposited more than what the protocol values your because you deposit more collateral than what the protocol values the debt to be. And so a stablecoin here is a synthetic representation of your debt against your pristine Bitcoin collateral or whatever. And what you can do, if you wanted to, you can then sell that stablecoin and buy more Bitcoin and deposit that as collateral and now borrow more stablecoin. And so in doing so, they, you know, the kind of modern the terminology I guess would be looping, but really you're just building a leverage position, and there's no necessary reason to loop it. You can just say, hey, look, I have this much margin. Let's call it a margin now instead of collateral. I want to borrow this much. Please go and mint me some stable coins, and in the same atomic transaction, you can go and sell those stable coins and then put it as collateral. So you can now, where you might have had like a 90% LTV, you can now open a 10x long position. But your stablecoin there is just a synthetic tokenized representation of your long position. Somebody else, you might turn around and say, actually, no, I think the market's going to drop tomorrow, so I want to short. So I will buy your, like, it's the same thing, right? You sell your Bitcoin, you sell your ETH, like you sell all your tokens. You are short the market, and so you might buy this stablecoin. And so you are basically buying somebody else's long position because you're short. And so what you've got there is you've got this peer-to-peer market where you're at this point you're kind of trading to sort of leverage spot, but not really because the stablecoin is synthetic. But it's the kind of, that's the kernel of how like margin trading works, right? Like you can create this leverage position in one transaction, sell it to somebody else because they have an opposite position, opposite idea of the market. And so you then take the next step, and instead of having a synthetic dollar, you have a synthetic Bitcoin, right? And so you're now posting dollar collateral against your newly minted synthetic Bitcoin, and now suddenly you can trade a synthetic Bitcoin for a synthetic dollar, and you have futures trading, and that's all it is, right? Like the whole thing just kind of layers on top of each other. And this was the key piece that we were missing on Rujira, that we've been planning Perps for the longest time, and my view is that this is all one big financial ecosystem. The whole thing should have really tight interplay with each other, and the Perps market should support the spot market should support the Perps market, and we just didn't have that key piece there, and it took ages to figure it out. And the thing that we have finally got to now is this concept of credit accounts, which will allow you to have, and this is what unlocks all of this. So credit accounts is borrowing. That's all it is, but it allows you to have multi-collateral and multi-debt. So you can now open I think that's right, you can open a Perps position with some spot collateral, and then somebody else can buy that off you on an order book. Like the whole thing is just like this like perfectly beautiful interconnected ecosystem where it is all just based on leverage, and leverage comes with liquidations, and liquidations is kind of bring it all the way back to Harpoon back in 2021, and this is what we were all about. It's about democratizing access to liquidations, and so we are building an ecosystem that is comparable and equivalent to any other ecosystem you could find, but it is community owned and it is accessible.
Excellent. Yeah, guys, it's really hard to just explain it any better than that. I mean, this is truly incredible what is going on. I'm going through all like the Telegram, the DMs, and I just thank you everyone for all your questions. I'm trying to, I don't think we're gonna have time to get to everything because Hans is limited. But guys, like if because there's a lot of people that might be listening to this that, again, I really want to emphasize something here. What THORChain, Rujira, what this represents, ultimately, it's just this struggle, this perseverance, this dogged determination to make something that emancipates the world. Yes, it often things in crypto or the blockchain industry can sound like hype. Yes. But I honestly believe, like all the cyberpunk, all the people who believe in emancipating the world, having their children being free, being let anyone in the world have the same opportunities and no longer be at the mercy of the capricious nature of all these third parties, of the banks, of all these NGOs, whatever you want to say, we are trying to put an end to that. Blockchain technology, it has the potential to either subjugate or emancipate. And that is the main driving factor. This is what gets everyone so motivated. At the end of the day, if you make money, that feels good. I've made money before. I think most people in listening to this, I think everyone's had their win. The most important thing is that we carry the torch and accomplish the goal, what was set out in the original white paper, what we've always wanted to do, and that is the emancipation of the world. We are going to do this, you guys. We are not going to stop. We're going to keep pushing. This will be done. This shared community is the community that's going to take it home. Take it to the bank. Kenton, I just want to make sure. Want to do a mic check if you're there? Okay, good. Your mic check's there.
Yeah, I'll kind of add to that a bit, I guess. So I think everybody knows how big the market is for Bitcoin-backed lending, and like, it's still really only, it's not very readily accessible, especially the average person. It definitely is to larger investors, but it's still kind of hard to access for the average Joe's point of view. And I don't know if you guys, somebody's got some background noise going on. If you can mute your mic. I don't know if you guys know, like Michael Saylor is in an interview with Bitcoin Magazine to talk about the future of Bitcoin-backed lending and like how securitizing Bitcoin is going to be huge. It's coming out in a few days, so I'm actually looking forward to that. And I just had lunch with a friend who runs a VASP here in Cayman, and that's an virtual asset service provider. It's an exchange, and like an OTC desk. And what he's going to start pitching to people is, and what he's already seeing, people looking into and exploring, is that like for example, on Cayman, you got to get permanent residence here, you got to buy $2.4 million worth of real estate. And what he's going to pitch to people is like, don't buy the real estate with cash, buy Bitcoin, then borrow against the Bitcoin, use that cash to buy the real estate to get your residency. Meanwhile, you have the Bitcoin, and that'll appreciate in value and eventually pay off. You can pay off your loan. And like he sees a really big market for that. And so, and this is, I'm positive this is what Michael Saylor is talking about too, because this is what the super wealthy do, right? They never sell their assets; they just borrow against them, and that way they don't have to pay capital gains, on the sale of the asset. They can actually write off the interest on the debt and whatever, right? And so, but that whole strategy, that whole play, is really only available to basically millionaires, right? It's hard for someone to do it with 10 grand. It's pretty hard to access that.
Well,
until now with Rujira, right? Go ahead, Hans.
So what's very interesting here is this primitive that we're building called credit accounts is like a generalized borrowing and lending. So like I say, multi-collateral, multi-debt. But because we're now using this to integrate perps as well and futures, it unlocks some really interesting models. So you have your kind of standard MakerDAO model where you deposit 1 BTC and you can borrow 60 grand, right? Like whatever it is, and that's great, fine. Right? You pay your interest on what you borrow, and you can do what you want with it, and you take a position on the market and which direction it's heading. And it's great if you don't, obviously, if you don't want to sell your tokens because you have capital gains or whatever implications if you sell. But excuse me. What's very exciting about this is that by dint of integrating it with the perps market and a futures market, and also allowing you to collateralize a position with a limit order, not just a like an open position. You can now, or you will be able to take one BTC spot and use that as collateral, and then take a one BTC short and use that as collateral. We're looking literally at the Athena model, but with any asset you like, where we also own the Perps exchange. And suddenly you now have this delta neutral collateral, which, okay, you pay slightly higher. Well, to a degree, like typically funding rates on shorts are positive. So you're what you would get paid for holding that short position open might help offset what you're paying to borrow those assets, paying the dollars. But the point is that we have this kind of very flexible generic model that can create a MakerDAO model, can create an Athena model, can create any kind of future concoction of margin and leverage in order to be able to borrow against your assets without selling them, and potentially safely without the risk of liquidation. Because in order to offset that risk of liquidation, you've got to have a counterparty, right? Like, you can't open a one BTC short on a Perps market unless there's somebody else taking the opposite side of it. So you're not internalizing that risk as a protocol. You're creating like an opportunity to externalize that risk, and the players in the game can all take their own positions. And if you're smart and know what you're doing, then you can create your delta neutral collateral and basically sell your Bitcoin without selling it.
And maybe to be clear too for people, same with if you're depositing your Bitcoin collateral to borrow against it, there's a custodian there who is holding on to that Bitcoin, and that custodian is THORChain, the 115 nodes, and that's your counterparty if you're going to do something like this. And so the argument there is that decentralized 115 nodes is safer than a centralized handful of nodes. Yeah.
Or a 3 or 4 multi-sig or whatever it is these days.
Yeah. I just want to add more to my story. I forgot to mention. So talking to this VASP, like they have a client who's already doing this, and they're a property developer here in Cayman, and they've done well for themselves over the years, and they've got good banking relationships on island, and they got to borrow money to buy a property, build a building, right? And then like one day one of the banks realized, hey, these guys, their business dried up. The banker is used to lending them millions of dollars. They're not getting that business anymore. So they called them up, just, hey, everything okay? We just want to see how business is. Have you slowed down? What's going on? And developers, no, business is great. We're doing awesome, but we're doing Bitcoin backed loans now because they're in the crypto, and they're just borrowing against their Bitcoin, and they can get their loan done in a day, and they get the cash in their account, wired to their account the next day, and for the same interest rates they're getting at the bank. And so they're basically saying like, well, it's way easier to just borrow against my Bitcoin, and with you, I've got to can take months sometimes to get the loan approved, and this is just way easier. So this is what we're doing now. And so the bank is taking notice because they're losing out on the fees. They're losing out on that business. And so where I'm going with this is if like sophisticated money wants to do this, they're doing this, and this might actually force crypto adoption within big banks if more and more people go towards this. So it's pretty cool, and it's cool that Rujira and THORChain are at the forefront of making this possible around the whole world, right? Not just locally.
I think you've already hit the nail on the head there, right? It's the value proposition here is about disintermediation, and it's about how a smart contract, which is a great term, by the way, a smart contract is basically free to use. Like a regular contract in the real world comes with thousands of pounds worth of dollars worth of legal fees. And so it is inaccessible for most people unless you're high net worth for most of these kind of like transactions. Whereas you can use a smart contract currently on THORChain for free. There is zero gas price. This will probably go up, but there's zero gas cost right now. And this is really the crux of what we're doing, right? Is it's opening this up. We're not necessarily like trying to like pull over these like massive institutions and all like this is kind of I find it tough, right? Because there is so much of the narrative in this space which is all about how many transactions per second can you do, or what's the efficiency of this. And the truth is, honestly, if you cannot have both, right? You cannot build a decentralized and community-owned anything and compete with a centralized exchange or a centralized anything on those metrics. They are always going to be faster. They are probably always going to be cheaper because they are centralized. They have a single point of service. But what this space does, and what it was supposed to do, and this is what we should be driving towards, is building something for everybody to use. Because if I want to borrow $10 against $100 of Bitcoin, I can do that. It's basically free. I cannot do that in the real world, in the traditional world, because I'd have to pay £1,000 to somebody or other to let me do that, or I'd have to go through KYC, or I'd have to do all these other things. And that is the single differentiating factor around what we're building here. And honestly, what THORChain offers Rujira as an app player, it's the only place you can do it. Right? With native BTC, with native ETH, with any native that's like TRX and Sol and everything that's coming, it's the only place.
I hope you guys are listening to this. I'm so sorry, Kenton. If it's okay, I just want to. We have some people who have been saying something. I'm going to get you a boon, and I promise we'll get you. But I just got some in the queue here. While we're talking about borrowing and stuff like that, I got a question about liquidation markets. And someone from your community, the Ruji community, says, would it be possible to actually bid on liquidations in liquidation markets like we could do on the original Kuji? Could you talk about that for a second, Hans?
Oh, this is absolutely. This is kind of, and we've kind of checked ourselves recently, because this is like the kernel. This is everything, right? Because the one thing that all these centralized exchanges profit from mostly is liquidation. Do you get margin called? They take your margin. Your CDP gets liquidated. They take 10% of it, 20% of it, whatever it is. There isn't any opportunity for retail to participate. No opportunity for them to bid for it. No opportunities for you to make any profit from it. And also, by doing that, it makes it worse for the trader or the borrower, because they're getting liquidated at a higher premium. So this is absolutely, we're driving towards this, but in order to have liquidations, you have to have borrowing. So we are like driving towards these credit accounts, because what credit accounts will do, actually, this is interestingly, this is something a bit of sort of, I guess, technical alpha. What we had before on, Rujira was born with Orca, right? Orca was this liquidation market for collateral. What Orca then mutated into, strangely, was Fin, and Fin was the name of our order book exchange. So Orca was this kind of product where you could place bids at certain discounts from the current market rate, and then when a liquidation was executed through that those bids, you'd get your bid filled. And so I remember quite vividly. I was kind of like sat there. I was like, well, this is basically an order book, but we just have to like kind of rotate it one way and then flip it the other way, and suddenly we have this kind of like full order book. And so Orca then became Fin, which was the order book, and instead of it being like a discount or premium to an external price, it was a fixed price. And latterly, we rolled in the second order type, which instead of it being a fixed order, like I want to sell at 100,000, it's like I want to sell at 10 bits above the current market price based on some external oracle. And that weirdly is the kind of thing that, going full circle, that's how Orca used to work. So it was the lending market would say, hey, the current price is $100,000. You give me back what you can give me. And it was sort of permissioned in that way because the market had to tell the liquidation queue what the price was. But now we have Enshrined Oracles. We can allow the liquidation queue or the liquidation, aka the order book, to tell the market what the price is, rather than the market tell the order book what the price is. Which means now we get to be much more capital efficient, and we can liquidate through the order book. But what we're going to have is this beautiful, basic kind of like liquidation hunting interface. So you'll get your liquidation heat maps. You'll get a a preview of what would happen if price went up 10%, how much would get liquidated, what point would my bid get hit here. You get this kind of really you'll have an overview of all the leverage across the entire Ruji ecosystem, and you'll be able to really place your bids well, and there'll still be premiums, right, or 5% or a 10% discount, but they are just these new, I say new, but they're actually the original versions, these Oracle orders on the order book. So you sit there 5% off or 10% off, and you'll participate with the same people that are placing regular limit orders, but they're not going to be liquidation hunters. They're going to be people that just want to buy or sell, and so maybe they'll get included in a liquidation. But the nice thing about this now is that the arbitrage there, where before there were two isolated markets, and you'd have a liquidation queue, which would be up to 30% discount, and sometimes that 30% discount would get hit because nobody was paying attention, and then they'd sell it on the spot market at 2, 3, 4, 5, 10%. That arbitrage opportunity gets internalized. It becomes value for people providing LP, but you still get this beautiful game where you can go in and you can just set your bid. You say I want 10% off, and I know that my bid is probably going to get hit when the market hits a local low and everyone gets a bit distressed. They can't quite repay their loans, but because of this auction mechanism, it's good for me because I get my discount, and it's good for the borrower because there is a competitive nature to this bidding process. They are going to get liquidated for the least time possible. So, and this is the whole crux of the whole thing. This is why we do this.
Okay, I got that's awesome. And guys, you might have to listen to this recording twice. I'm gonna have to do it myself because there's a lot of information here. I got one more for you on my end, and then maybe we'll go to Boone. I'm not sure, but okay, let me go here. Okay, so could Hans explain a little bit more about orbital pools and why he's excited about, especially that THORChain has integrated Tron?
Those are two very separate questions. Orbital is very exciting. For those that don't know, it's a paper from Paradigm. It kind of extends the concentrated liquidity formula into n dimensions and allows essentially an infinite number of equally valued tokens to be quoted and traded across the same market maker. So to the best of my knowledge, and I think there's some other things going on, but to the best of my knowledge, we are the first team to be building this out in anger, to actually ship it into development and go through the nuances of how does somebody's position get tokenized, and is it fungible, and is it fungible with somebody else, all these pieces. So there's a big piece of work there to be done to, in the first state, just demonstrate that it is a valid design, and then to actually productionize it and make it. But it's an incredible design. It's like a curve end pool, but using concentrated liquidity and also accommodating the fact that tokens might depeg. It's a really good design. So watch this space. It's a work in progress. We've got some guys doing some great work on that, but it's going to take some time. Yeah. And Tron, Tron, great. Can't wait. We're geared up. We're ready. It's on StageNet. Tron Wallet is already connected, and as soon as those pools get seeded, it'll be available. We'll hook up some pairs, and this is a beautiful thing about the virtualization strategy, is that we'll have those order books. They'll be live, and you could almost watch it in real time as liquidity gets added to the base layer in the Tron pools. You'll see the quotes in the order book grow, and those quotes in the order book are going to be what is key for supporting credit accounts, because let's say, for example, that you have a credit account and you're borrowing against your TRX, and actually you decide you don't like TRX anymore, you want to borrow against your XRP. And so you want to swap your TRX for XRP. In any other lending model, you have to withdraw your TRX. You have to make sure you've got enough funds there to repay your debt. You then got to take it back to somewhere else. You've got to swap it for XRP. You've got to come back to the lending market. You've got to deposit your XRP, and now you can re-borrow your funds again, which is just absurd. But what our model of credit accounts will do is it will allow you to basically do anything you like with your collateral. And at the end of doing anything you like, it'll check, is this loan still safe? And because of the beauty of how CosmWasm works and the actor model, there are various kind of like technical details and implementations. If that final check fails, the whole transaction fails. And so you get kind of like limitless opportunity. So now what this is what I'm coming to, the connection of the base layer pools, the virtualization strategy, the order book, and the credit accounts means that you can then have a debt against your TRX, and you can swap that TRX for XRP in one transaction. And as long as your position is still safe after that swap, and we've done that atomically because we've supported it through the virtualization strategy and through the order books, you can crack on. And it's you can't rotate collateral in a debt position anywhere else like that.
Legendary stuff. Legendary stuff. Well, that's it for my questions. Kenton, I just want to kick you. Thank you for being patient, Boone. I really appreciate it. Kenton, was there anything else, or maybe we just do a quick question?
Yeah, but we can keep moving on if Boone wants to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead, Boone. Thanks again for your patience, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just real quick. I really liked everything you were saying earlier on about decentralization, permissionless, no KYC. However, it seems that most of Rujira is built around USDC, which is, very centralized, single, they can freeze accounts with the press of a button, and is also, at the subject of the US government. So I'm just, wondering about that design choice. And then
to what degree do you think it's built around USDC?
Well, just let me ask a second thing and then I'm done. And then also, I just was curious about the design of this theoretical Bitcoin-backed stablecoin, and then progress on that. And I guess to address your question, it seems that the Perps market, it's all the liquidity is in USDC. Maybe I'm just mistaken there?
So some of the Perps markets are the liquidity is in the native token like Bitcoin. Sometimes we do USDC, but this is all just a parameterization, right? It's nothing in the kernel of how anything's built dictates that USDC is the one and only token. It's just this market has been deployed with USDC as the collateral. If it's not to everyone's taste and people want US, we've launched BTC, ETH, USDT pairs, and then they are kind of, it's just an implementation of a contract away. It's not, nothing has been hard coded in any kind of core binaries or anything that says USDC is the one and only stablecoin that we'll use here. It's just another asset.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the questions, Boone. Really appreciate it.
Can I jump in there? I want to make a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand where you're going with that, Boone. I keep thinking about it too, and because I think stablecoins are going to become huge. The U.S. is going to really pimp them around the world, and everyone's arguing, oh, it's a backdoor for CBDC and blah blah blah, and I get all that, but in my mind, as long as there's competition between, say, Circle and Tether, as long as there's at least two, right, and hopefully more, that it would be a death sentence for one of these stablecoin issuers to arbitrarily freeze tokens somewhere. Because as soon as, let's say they did that, let's say Circle decided to freeze the USDC on Rujira and THORChain, there'd be a bank run instantly. Everybody else, all the exchanges everywhere else would dump USDC and go into Tether or whatever other stable, and because they wouldn't want to wait around for it to happen to them, right? So unless all the stablecoin issuers are actually in cahoots and are actually working together, which I don't necessarily agree. I wonder if the risk of having one of them freeze their tokens on a certain platform is really that high, because it really would be a death sentence for them. Yeah, just a comment. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I think the game theory checks out how I play it in my mind. I mean, unless they are coordinating, then yeah, that would be very, because look what's happened with the dollar with freezing assets due to various foreign conflicts, right? People are actively moving away from the dollar. So the precedent has been set. If you freeze, people's money, whether it's, dollars in valuation in fiat world or if it's on blockchain, I think it'd carry right over. It'd be a death sentence. I agree. We have another speaker, Codehans. I know you're probably short on time, so I'll try and fit one more person in. Angry.
That's fine. Let's push it. We're good.
Oh, okay, cool. Angry Guru, do you have a question for Codehans or something? Go ahead. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to check your mic, buddy. All right, got to move on. We'll come back to you, or just raise your hand when you sort your mic out there. Kenton, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have a question for Hans. Enshrined Oracles. Can you kind of go over like this? These, you know, we've been talking about perps. This oracle is important for perps as well. And then why the word enshrined? Can you break it all down for us, please?
This is very, very cool, actually. So if you look at like anything on any other chain that requires external knowledge, whatever, prices particularly, the chain itself is very like constrained, particularly ETH, right? Like ETH is, everything is user land. Nobody gets privileged position to do anything on Ethereum, right? And so if you want to subscribe and you want to use a price feed, you have to Chainlink, because you know the status quo, but all they can do is they just enter the mempool, right? Chainlink don't have any privileged access to the mempool, any privileged access to chain state or to block production. And so if you're going to build a product that requires that basically allows people to gamble on the directionality of price, you have to use Chainlink, and you also can't guarantee that somebody else is going to that isn't going to front run the price, especially when you're using like a price feed that has general access, right? So Chainlink posts feeds to multiple chains, and so what you could do is you can monitor another chain, and you can see that the price commitment 100 milliseconds before the next ETH block is produced is X. And now you know you're pretty confident that you know what the commitment that they're going to make is, and you can front run them. What the Enshrined Oracle does is it undoes all of that. And so the same way that the THORChain node operators will observe and gossip over an observed transaction on a layer one, which is just external information, like the same way as the price is external information, they will now observe prices on exchanges, and they'll gossip those prices, and they'll come to an agreement, say, yeah, this is going to be the price. And then they will commit that price at the start of the block. And this is so key, is that you commit that price at the start of the block, which is impossible for a Pyth or a Chainlink or anything. And you completely remove any opportunity for prescience, like prescience attacks, where you know the price before it's committed. And so the net result of that means you just get a better UX, you get a better product, and you get a higher performing exchange, because you don't have to, for example, like hold somebody's position in like limbo until the next box committed, because you don't know whether they front run the price or not. And the second piece of all of this is it gives THORChain and all of us autonomy over those prices, right? Like you go to Pyth or you go to Chainlink and say, oh, can you add X, Y, Z? And I'm like, okay, yes, it'll just cost you 100 grand. But now we can add new prices for new assets just with a Mima update, and it's free. And you just point, you have different chain, and we've been doing this for years now. We had on Rujira, and it was on Terra. It's like a lot of the code that we're using is from Terra's old Oracle, and it wasn't the Oracle that broke on Terra. It was the economic model, and the Oracle was rock solid. And so we borrowed a lot of that for Rujira, and we're bringing it over here. But now we have the opportunity to use Bifrost and the gospel of Bifrost. And it's a beautiful thing. Honestly, I didn't write any of it, so I can say that.
How does the nodes know the price on the exchange? And can that be manipulated or altered? So
the price that is committed is a volume weighted average price, and outliers are discarded based on a standard deviation. So you can't manipulate the price too much. You can't say, I think the price of Bitcoin is $1 and make it low, because the standard deviation based on your 2/3 majority is just going to be like, no, you're wrong. Off you go. Like you'll get slashed for that. Don't do that.
And because of let's say a node say a few nodes did want to do that, the only way they could get away with it is if they convinced the majority of nodes to do it as well, right? So like
exactly. Same trust model as the entire chain runs on already.
So maybe we should say this out loud for people if they're not following along. So there's 115 nodes on THORChain. You need two-thirds of them to come to consensus, to agreement on something. So we need, if there's a few nodes or several nodes that are trying to fudge the price, you won't win, because as long as two-thirds of the nodes agree, that's the price, and they're incentivized to come up with the accurate price and agree with everyone else, because if they're off, they're going to get penalized. And so there's no incentive for them to try and fudge the numbers. There's actually an incentive to get it right, because you're assuming everyone else is trying to get it right too, and you'll have
exactly. Yeah, there's a slight nuance because prices aren't binary the same way that, for example, like the output of a block would be, but you have to vote 2/3, and so this is why you use standard deviation to discern outliers. But yes, you're right.
Perfect.
Cool. Go to Patriots. Some people jump up.
Well, yeah, I think we have Swiss Rambo. Real quick before we go to Swiss Rambo, I just want to like take a second to talk about like THORChain's governance and its decentralized nature. Like during the entire time that Rujira, which is now Rujira, was building, right? They were building these amazing economic primitives. THORChain was in defense mode. So we're trying to make the protocol as hardy and as tough as we possibly can. THORChain, as it stands, it's very unlikely to be. It's really hard to be captured. I don't want to say never, of course. That's not intellectually honest. I mean, you don't want to ever say an absolute. But THORChain is extremely robust when it comes to decentralization, and we're interested in making that even more. We are not satisfied. Even if we are comfortable where we're at right now, we want to push it to the limit as much as we can. I believe the ultimate future for THORChain and Rujira is having just to think of it as infrastructure that is just so unbelievably robust and strong and powerful that it can never be captured. And that's the goal we're going to strive to, guys. So if people are like have questions, because there's two sides of this coin, right? We have THORChain, which is, what is THORChain? It is raw infrastructure. It does swaps. And what Rujira, what the app layer is, it's what you can build on top of that. What you have permissionless, no KYC, trust minimized swap from real layer 1 to real layer 1. What can you build with that? And it's incredible what we can build, as you've learned. The new speaker actually dropped. Let me see if he's requesting back up. No. Okay. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. So Kenton, or did you have anything you want to add to that, or any other questions or anything?
No.
Oh, I do have something actually. Apologies, Kenton. Okay, this is from the Rujira community. Okay, so is a timeline for switching to maybe a Perps team or new Perps team? Has that already started, or can there be no Perps development work until we do credit accounts, ETA, blah blah blah? Can you comment on that, Codehans?
To a degree, yeah. So credit accounts and mint vaults, which are the things that will allow a stablecoin, as I mentioned earlier, it's all just kind of two sides of the same 10-sided coin. So once we have credit accounts and mint vaults are trivial, so that's not going to take very long. Credit accounts are gnarly, and I'm working through them right now. Once we have that, we'll have all the pieces you need to create futures markets, to create synths, like the same way that, dare I say it, we had a mirror on Terra. So like, you know, the only thing that constrains a Perps market or a futures market, because all you're really doing is gambling on the future price of something, or betting on the future price of something, or trading bets on the future price of something, is having that price feed. So now we have the Enshrined Oracle that we now have complete autonomy over. So we can now say, hey, look, we're going to add a new provider to the Enshrined Oracle. We're going to add the NASDAQ, or we're going to add whatever it is. Now I can add the price of Tesla. I can add the price of whatever to my Enshrined Oracle, which means I can now use it in my credit accounts, which means I can now mint let's call it a Tesla stablecoin. and I can create a delta neutral position over my Tesla stablecoin. Like, this is just all these things are just they're parameterizations of the same protocol, and it's the next protocol we're going to ship.
Okay, awesome.
And can I press you a bit further on on ETA hands? Is this like months away, years away? I'm not expecting you to give us like an actual deadline, but can you speak in terms of days, weeks, or months?
Depends how many spaces I have to do.
Dude, bro, this is the first time we've done with you in like 6 weeks. Come on, man.
No, I'm joking. I'm winding you up. No, it is literally
great.
like #1 priority. This is what we're building. I mean, obviously, like we have an existing product. There is an ongoing maintenance burden. We have a great team here that are like doing really awesome things and building and supporting and maintenance, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the credit accounts is the absolute #1 priority, because you get credit accounts, you get all these exciting things, and we get liquidations, and that's going to be the key. That's the fun bit. I mean, not if you're getting liquidated, but the best thing about having a liquidation market means that when you get liquidated, you know that you're getting liquidated for the best price.
Perfect. And yeah, guys, let's a lot of people, the meme is win. I would bear everyone in mind, whether you're in the community or listening to this, like what THORChain and what Rujira are building has never existed before. Okay. And so they will give you rough deadlines, like Kenton was saying, being respectful, saying months. Like, you need to be a little forgiving, because we don't know what we don't know, right? There may be unforeseen challenges. Oh, that reminds me, Hans, we had on with Rujira Perps earlier on, we had a little bit of a scaling issue, with, people trying to do perps and the site was go down, and there was like a bandwidth issue relative to the infrastructure we have. Can you give an update on that? Are we looking more and more solid on that front? Yeah,
this is a very weird one. So yes, we're moving in the right direction. Is the short piece. It's not actually a scaling issue per se. It's not that like we can't handle the volume of users. There's a weird kind of like I say idiosyncrasy. Like I'm gonna get really deep into the technical weeds.
Go for it. No problem.
So there is an issue where occasionally high volume nodes will do what is called app hashing, which is like, so every block the node checks that the hash of the new app state is what it's expecting, and if it's not, then it will halt, because this is Tendermint, and it's how the consensus mechanism works, and it favors correctness over liveness. We have found that nodes that have high query volume tend to app hash more and then require restoring. The reason for which I'm not sure yet. It's potentially to do with the way that state is marshaled and unmarshaled out of the root store. But it's strange, because it shouldn't, like the request volume shouldn't make any difference. We're working on redundancy, we're working on improving stability, but it's not, like I say, it's not a code problem. It's not a volume problem. It's just a kind of potentially a Thor problem, but not really a Thor problem, because it's we're asking it to do a lot, like a huge amount. So like the first time you load your account, like you connect your MetaMask wallet, whatever it is, it'll load 10 different accounts. It needs to load all the balances, all this, like provide your entire portfolio, particularly for your Rujira wallets, which shows your LP positions, your lending positions, your index positions, your Perps positions, like all of this. And we want to do that in a sensible time frame. So I don't want to sit there like say, oh, wait for 5 minutes while we index your portfolio. We want it to respond in a sensible time frame, like half a second. And it's not a small thing to do. That's going to be 1,000 RPC requests to collect your portfolio, and just to show that one, like, we want to show your number top right. Like, gesticulating quite a lot here right now. Top right, like show your portfolio value, and it seems like it's one number, but it is like 1,000 RPC requests that we have to execute in half a second to show you your portfolio. And that's key, right? Because you want to know how, like, what your value is. It's like, oh yeah, this is the value of your tokens, except your limit orders and except your perp positions. Right? It's meaningless. So we set high standards. That we want to create this proper experience like you get on these centralized exchanges, but trying to build it on top of truly decentralized infrastructure is hard, right? Because like you contrast this, right? I spent my career building Web2 stuff, and this would have been like a very simple SQL database query, and you'd have just summed a bunch of things, and you'd have got it in like 100 milliseconds, less than that, and it would have been easy. But it's not that easy when you're building with decentralized data stores.
Right, and I'm glad. That's why I kind of answered the question. I wanted you to break down just how incredibly complicated and nuanced that issue is, just to give the audience a sense of just like the things that can happen that are just like come out of left field, and you're like, whoa, what in the heck? So yeah, guys, that's why they don't give timelines, because, you know, I'm not technical enough to understand fully what Hans just said there. My understanding is superficial just because, you know, I don't have that coding experience that he does. But I think everyone listening to that understands that there's just things that were going to happen, that we're going to run into, that because this has never existed before. So I would just encourage everyone to please, like, you know, and not saying take your eye off the ball, but be a little forgiving. And be understanding if that's going to take a few extra weeks or a few extra days to fully prove something out and to work out all the kinks and to double and triple and quadruple check things. So that's all I got on that. Gosh dang, you guys, I feel like this has been an extremely signal packed space. Kenton, did you got anything, buddy?
I can keep going if Hans
keep going.
I got a question for you, Hans. Memoless swaps is coming soon to THORChain. That's where you don't have to connect your wallet to a website. Will Rujira be able to incorporate that, or will you still have to connect your wallet to Rujira?
No, yeah. So Memoless swaps is basically kind of, it's not Memoless. It's you pre-register your memo against either, and this is still being ironed out, I think. Either your deposit address or some encoding of the amount. There is a feature of secured assets plus the Cosmos integration, which is called the exec memo, which, much as you can send a memo to THORChain, to you know, when you deposit to THORChain, send a memo that says swap to BTC. You can now send a memo that says open a limit order or deposit into this Perps pool or whatever it is. And so, you know, one memo is one memo. So this is something that I think actually potentially stands to benefit out there in an outsized way, because a lot of these memos are going to be large. You know, they've got large contract execution payloads, the kind of thing that doesn't fit into like 80 bytes of an op return on Bitcoin or whatever. So, yeah, I think it'll be exciting, I think.
I do have something here. Kenton, let's do, if you want to add to something real quick.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Someone pointed out that we didn't, I think maybe Boone was on ask this. What is the progress on the Bitcoin-backed stablecoin? Do we have a progress report on that at all, Hans?
Same as before. Same as the last question. One credit accounts is all of this. This is why I'm so excited about this. It's just like perfect synergy where credit accounts and a lending vault, where instead of lending tokens you mint the tokens. It creates that is everything. Like, you parameterize that and you deploy it in certain configurations, and you get perps, you get futures, you get stablecoin, you get synthetics, you get like stocks, you get all of these things in one go with one protocol.
Awesome stuff, you guys. Guys, you need to share this space. Please share this space. When this thing ends, also, you need to like tell people about this. The stuff that's been said here is just absolutely legendary. It's the 0 to 1, right, guys? This is literally the 0 to 1. This is the original ethos. It is our responsibility to tell the world about this. They're not going to come here for no reason. We have to be proactive. So I encourage everyone, whether you're THORChain, Rujira, or if you're just a stranger and you're just learning for the first time and you're excited about what you're hearing, please share this space with someone, whether they're a builder or anything else. Rujira is actively looking for teams. If you have something cool, a new primitive, a DeFi primitive that you think belongs in Rujira, you need to reach out as well, okay? This is really exciting, guys. There's something called the Rujira Alliance. Maybe I'll let you talk about that, Hans, if you want. Let me kick it to you. Like, why should teams come to Rujira, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want, so the key piece here, right, is you can, if you have an idea for product, you can write it in Solidity, you can deploy it to Ethereum, they deploy it to wherever Base, and then Optimism, and then AVAX, wherever you want to deploy it, and then you have to rewrite it in for Solana, then you have to rewrite it for somewhere else, and each time you deploy it on Solana and you want to get ETH, you have to bridge your ETH over with Wormhole or however you get there, or you want BTC and you have to use Wrap BTC. Like, you have to kind of make a compromise around how you get these assets, and fundamentally that's the key piece, right? It's like, what assets can I use in my protocol? Whereas you come and build on Rudy and you write your contract once, and for every single chain that THORChain adds as a supported layer one, you can now add it. And it's just, as I say, I've said this word a lot, it's another parameterization of your protocol. You just deploy a new instance of the contract, and you can support Sol, and now you can support XRP, and you can support TRX, and you can support all these things.
Friggin' awesome. Kenton, do you have more for Hans?
I do, yeah. Can you hear me? I check.
Yes, sir. Go right before.
I'm curious, do you stay in touch with any like market makers, traders, OTC desks that are like keeping an eye on what you're doing, and then once you're ready and you're live, that they're eager to jump in and start playing with it? Do you have those kind of relationships?
Yeah, it's above my pay grade, that, but yeah, we do.
Okay, so you're not building in a vacuum, basically. Like, it's not, people are aware, they are paying attention.
Yeah, no, we're like, this is also part of kind of where we realized we fell down a bit in the Kuji days, was that we didn't engage these kind of people. So like, refresh momentum, refresh energy, more people, more opportunities to talk to these to talk to market makers and to bring people like this in. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Kenton looks like he rugged there. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I think one thing that you mentioned that's really important, Hans, is, like, we, as this community, like back in 2021, whether you're on the Rujira Kujira side, whether you're on the THORChain side, we are very different now. We set out with an ethos and a goal, and we didn't know how to accomplish either of those, right? And we just kept firing away and plinking at it. And so, I love that you said that, Hans, because it just shows that, we've grown and we've realized our mistakes. And that's true with anybody, when you have to build something the first time, it's like the light bulb, you're going to make 1,000 designs and finally, but I really feel like, Hans, given what you said, all the things we've talked about today, we are so freaking close now. We are so unbelievably close. In fact, I mean, the foundation's there. We literally just have to build it, test it, and ship it. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think you're right. I think the thing about this space, right? Like, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, I guess, with the whole 2017 ICO mania comment, was that it's so easy to rug, right? It's so easy just to kind of like do a thing, raise $1 million, and oh, hey, I got $1 million more than I had yesterday, and then just kind of disappear. But there aren't that many people that really kind of subscribe and are invested in that cypherpunk ideal that, like, we should be like permissionless and we should be community owned and it should be egalitarian and all these things, right? Because even if you start out like that and you think you believe like that, it's very easy to have your head turned. And it takes time, right? Like, you can't find out which people want to build these futures in a week, because it's just not enough time. And like, Ethereum was only launched, I say only launched in 2016, right? It's what, 8-9 years now, and it's still not a huge amount of time. And over those years, you kind of you weed the people out, and the people that aren't here anymore, that kind of pretended like they were here for the core mission or the root principles, just sort of aren't here anymore. And those that still are and still here and kicking. And I think that, for me, like, this was part of like the real value of the alignment with THORChain, is that I feel like there is that alignment, and there's a lot of the THORChain community. And we had our offsite last week with all the THORChain community, Maya guys, Ruji guys, and you can feel it, man. There's a lot of people that have been around for years now, and they're still here, they're still doing it, they're still kicking. And they also with the opportunity to some of them to have just disappeared and be like, oh, I'm fine, I've got enough money, I don't need to do anything. And so it's not it's not a financially motivated thing anymore. And I think that's key, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Kenton, you want to check your mic real quick? You're back, brother. No worries. That's how X is.
I love what you're saying there, Hans. I caught a bit of it. You're saying we're all real cypherpunks. We're all carrying the torch. We all see the same end game. We're all working towards the same goal. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it. And I think actually, to kind of extend that a bit, I suppose, without wanting to ramble too much, like I think the cypherpunk ideals are great, right? Like for some people, they really resonate. But what we really have to do is kind of understand how the products that those cypherpunk ideals build are actually valuable to everybody, right? Because there are a very few people that kind of really, for whom those kind of things resonate with it. We need to understand how we build products that reach a wider audience. And so for me, this is, and I'm going to go right back to the start here. This is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about like community ownership and disintermediation, right? You can now like participate in liquidations, you can fundraise, you can do all these things that require expensive lawyers. And now we've removed these expensive lawyers and expensive contracts from participating in these financial activities. Who can we now reach to, right? You can now fundraise for your sandwich shop an IPO on the same day. Right? It's impossible in the traditional world. Or you can participate in liquidations on a Perps market. None of the current existing exchanges will let you do that. And this is like the product from the cypherpunk ideals. Like we've got to kind of get beyond it a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, just to add on what you say, like, this is something that I want everyone in the community to internalize. Like, this isn't Han's responsibility. It's not my responsibility, Kenton's responsibility. This is all of our responsibility, right? Like, we have to do this together, and we are going to do this 100%. So take it upon yourself to be proactive, ask what you can do to contribute, because all of us here, if we work together, this is 100% going to happen. We just got to make it happen. Go ahead, Kenton.
No, it's great. I was going to ask Hans if there's anything else he wanted to talk about that we haven't brought up. Something on his mind.
No, I think we're good. I've had an ample opportunity, so it's been great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, do you have to go, buddy? You gave us 30 extra minutes. I'm so appreciative of you. Do you have to run?
No, it's all good. I'm enjoying it. No, it's fine. I've got nothing else to say myself, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to stick around.
Okay, guys, this is a call to the audience. Please request if you want to come up and ask any questions. I'm not going to give a lot of people to do it. Please don't be shy. If you have something you want to be asked, now is the opportunity. Let's respect Han's time. Otherwise, if there's no questions, we'll get him back to coding. You know what I mean? I think that's what he wants to do.
Back to credit accounts.
There you go. Yeah, I think, one thing, I think we nailed it, though. I think we got a lot of signal. We don't like noise. On a THORChain space, Rujira space, we don't do noise, boys and girls. We're all about the goods. We respect everyone's time. We deliver the fruit. That's what we do. We don't come up here and play with each other's wieners. We talk about what we need to talk about, okay? So, guys, please request if you want to ask any questions. But if no one requests, I guess that means we did a pretty damn good job covering all the angles. So I'm pretty happy with the show today.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think we let's wrap it up. Nice and short and sweet this time.
Okay, yeah. Okay then. We got one. Someone requesting. Rio, I don't know who you are, man. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not gonna bring you up. I looked at your account. I go with my gut. Not happening. Sorry. Got another one requesting. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that one. Okay. Dustin, I'm going to invite someone called Dustin. Go ahead, Dustin.
For your time, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to engage with us. It's really awesome to hear directly from the horse's mouth, and keeps the community motivated. So thank you.
Pleasure. Enjoying it. Thank you.
No, I'm really glad you came up and said that, Dustin, actually, because, I think like Chad Bareford, he wants to start doing the spaces on like Thursday, right? I think they're highly valued. People, want to hear from developers, even though they're super busy. When developers just take like an hour or two, like once a week or every month or something, I think that is so helpful to help communicate to the community and keep everyone in line, especially the question I talked about with Rujira Perps and just those weird nuances that we run into. You know, like when people understand just how complex and crazy things can be, I think it helps temper, you know, or it helps people understand, you know, like from day to day, things can just get, you know, change. And again, it's the details, it's the edge cases, it's the nuance what hold us back sometimes, but nothing that we can't solve. Okay, guys, let me check one more time. I think that's going to be it. I think I appreciate everyone coming in. I'm going to say it again. You guys, please share this freaking space. This is a diamond. Okay. This is a gem. This is a gem alert right now. You seen that meme? This was a great space. We laid it out, I think, pretty efficiently, and we went pretty deep. Kenton, I'm going to kick it to you real quick if you got any closing thoughts, and then I think we'll wrap.
No, that's good. It's great. Yeah, I agree with you, Dustin. It's nice to hear from the devs. Hans, hopefully, you know, we can do this more often. You know, once every few weeks type thing would be great. And if Saturdays aren't good, we can do another day too. I'll let you guys know. I'm going to do a space for youth on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and he's behind. Forgive me, I don't know if it's Nunez or No Ones. It's spelled Noones, and I kind of pitched him on Twitter to like integrate THORChain, and he's like, "What's THORChain?" And I'm like, "Well, come on a space, let's talk about it." So, and try and turn him into a THORChad. So that'll be Monday afternoon, and then next Saturday at this time we've got Chad Bareford. He's going to come on and chat with us. That'll be great. And then the weekend after that, we've got the Litecoin community, right, Patriot?
Yeah, I'm so excited about the Litecoin community because, you know, I went to a Litecoin conference in Las Vegas in 2022, got to meet Johnny Litecoin and a lot of people. And I told them, you know, back then we were so young, you guys. We were so young, and I don't even think I was that good of an educator back then. I was still like kind of winging it a little bit, but I cannot wait for them to learn what THORChain has become, and especially Rujira and all the cool things they can do. So I kind of like, if Rujira guys want to come up and help like communicate to them what you guys have built. I'm not the best educator. I still have to learn quite a lot about Rujira. I feel insecure when I try to talk about Rujira just because I don't have that history, and there's just so much information to know. But okay, guys, with that said, I think we're going to wrap. Thank you to all the speakers, to all the listeners. Again, share this space right now. If this is a recording, I'm looking at you. Share the damn space. Thank you, Kenton. Thank you, Codehans. You're an absolute lesson. Dustin, thank you. Boone, thank you for your question. Everyone, I hope you have a terrific rest of your weekend. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.